Ah, there we go. We're recording. Hello, everybody, and welcome tonight. It's really lovely to have you here, and thank you for coming online and supporting us. It's a Thursday night. The festive season is fast approaching, and everyone's quite busy. So I really appreciate you taking this time to be with us here tonight. And it's such a privilege and such an honor to host this call on behalf of Cally. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on how Cally and I came to meet. I hosted a call a couple of months ago for another lady called, what was her name again? I've actually now forgotten it. Carrie Hardy, who was in an accident and almost died. And she had such an amazing story to tell. So I really wanted people to hear the story because I find it so inspiring when people come through tragedy and trauma and circumstances that are really hard to navigate and they make it through. And Cally is one of those people. She's just been the kind of person, when I read the book, who's absolutely had to endure so much and has come through it shining as a shining example of what it really means to have endured and having conquered. So it's so nice to have you here, Cally. I loved reading your book. And I really can't wait to hear the full story because I know there's always the story behind the story. So, yeah, I'm a life coach in Salt Rock on the north coast of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa, for those of you that are overseas. And the work that I do is really focused on mental health. I'm a brain-based coach, and I'm always very, very interested in how people come to be where they are, make the choices that they do, and decide that they're going to make a difference in other people's lives. And Cally's doing that with her book.
Thank you, Sharon.
Sorry about that. So Cally, I think without further ado, I'm going to ask you to go into your story and tell us what it is that you want to share with us tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Sharon, for your kind introduction. I'm going to start from before I was 13 years old. I had a normal, happy upbringing. Everything was basically going right for me. I had wonderful friends, loving parents, loving siblings, a beautiful school. I went to St. John's School, and I was sporty as well as academic. Life was there for my taking. And then at the same age of 13, as a teenager, I developed bronchitis, which soon led into pneumonia. And I recall my dad carrying me into Mediclinic because I was so thin and frail that I couldn't actually walk into the clinic by myself. And I was given a antibiotic at that stage was actually too strong for my body. And we believe that it triggered off a chemical reaction to my brain. And when I got back home after being in this clinic, it set off these psychotic depressions. It was so bad that I actually had to be admitted into hospital. And I recall when I was in the shower in hospital, instead of water coming out the spout, blood would. And I remember lying in my hospital bed, and there was a picture on the wall, and at night it would come alive, and this clown, this like evil clown, would come and entice me. And it was actually, I went through so much hell those years, from 13 to 16 years, for 3 long years. Nobody actually knew what was wrong with me. I was sent to many doctors all over, to KZN. I went to an endocrinologist in Durban, thinking because I was in puberty, I had a hormonal problem. But I was even given Depo-Provera injections, but that didn't last very long. I soon got sick again. So I'll be sick for 3 weeks of the month, whereas only 1 week of the month I'll be feeling normal. And in that normal time, I'll try and catch up on schoolwork because I was such a high achiever. And this added to more stress. And so it was one of those ongoing bad cycles that I was on, and it was a havoc for my family. I mean, I'm a twin. My twin sister, my brother, and my younger sister, and my parents, they were going through the same turmoil as I was going, but they supported me. And when I was so sick, still at the age of 16, I really came to a point where I wanted to end my life. All I really wanted was to die. And I took all my prescribed medication. And I remember going into my parents' bedroom and taking all the medication in the medicine box and swallowing it, hoping never to wake up. But I did wake up, and I woke up in a hospital bed at Mediclinic Hospital. And I remember there was this lady on the other side of the bed, and she introduced herself to me as Sharon Reese, my mother's Bible study teacher. And she said to me, "Can she pray with me?" And at that point, all what I really wanted, what was going through my mind was, I just want this Bible bashing lady to leave me alone. I don't need this, just get away from me. But something inside of me sort of let go, and I said, "Sure, Sharon, pray with me." And I can distinctly remember something shifted within me after she had said that prayer. And I believe that I gave my life to God that day. But you're probably thinking that, and that's my miracle story, I'm healed. But it will take quite a few more years ahead for my healing to actually completely happen. Yet God had really become a part of my life then. And so when I came out of hospital, I tried to fit back into the norm of school. My sister, my twin sister Lila, she tried to fit me in with her friends and my friends, but I was really battling socially. Although I was doing okay academically, school was a big social struggle for me. And then when I was 16 years old, at the same age of 16, my parents were desperate because I was going up and down all the time. I was actually, the symptoms that I was experiencing were ones of not just depression anymore, but mania as well. When I was having thoughts of feeling godlike and euphoric. And I mean, when I was at school then, I was even gathering my 12 disciples, thinking that I was the second coming. I remember my twin sister, I think she was John, and my friend Riley was Luke, or I don't remember. It's quite funny looking back right now, but in reality at that time, it was quite serious. And my parents heard of a hospital in Johannesburg that dealt with bipolar and eating disorders. And it was a government hospital. And yes, they packed up their bags, packed up my bags, and off we went to Johannesburg. And I was 16 years old, and I went to the children's ward. And I was there for a couple of months under the care of Dr. Psychiatrist Tibi Chismadia. And it was there that he diagnosed me as having bipolar disorder. Now, for someone who had been battling with this for quite some time now, the relief of having a diagnosis was tangible to my parents and to my family, because now there was a way that they could move forward, knowing that there was a definition to what I was doing. So and then I came back home after being diagnosed, and I was okay for a while, but yet the pressures from school were horrific. It was just stress. When I was in matric, I actually had to do homeschooling for 2 years to finish my matric. I got my exemption, but it wasn't plain sailing. It was always hard work for me to to actually get there and do well. And when I was 18 years old, I had another major episode of bipolar, another manic episode where I was flying high as a kite, and then my parents decided that I had to go back to Tara Psychiatric Hospital. But because I was 18, I couldn't go back to the children's ward. I had to go to the adult ward. And this was another story compared to the children's ward. This was horrific. This was when the place that I was staying basically was like a prison cell. It was a little room with a mattress on the floor, with a little window on the door. And I just recall this one incident when I needed to go to the toilet just to relieve myself. And I remember crying out on the other side of the door, and someone come and open the door so I can go to the toilet, but no one came to my rescue. So I actually wet myself, and I just remember that feeling of just, I really felt really small and insignificant at that point. But my mom and dad and my siblings, my mom especially, was there with me every day in Johannesburg, staying with cousins John and Kath Francis. And my mom and dad and my siblings have really been a pillar of strength for me throughout. And so has my faith. But then I would come back after Tara when I was 18 years old, and I would still, I was still not 100% well. I still go through phases of, bearing like in a huge depression, bearing like a mole deep down in the ground, or flying high like a kite. I'm never consistently well, although when I was in my 20s, I did, however, manage to get a diploma in holistic massage, although it took an extra year to complete because of my episodes. Looking back now, my 20s to my 30s have really been a year of struggles, of golden job opportunities. I remember going to Johannesburg, and I nearly secured like this golden job opportunity as a massage therapist manager, only being there a couple of months, but an episode occurred and that crashed all my dreams. So looking back, my story is one of ups and downs, of never really consistency since the age of 13. But I'm now 38, and 8 years ago when I turned 30, my miracle happened. My psychiatrist, Dr. Maria Dobreva, she was my psychiatrist when I was 16 years old, and she still is my psychiatrist till this day. We have an incredible bond, and she introduced this treatment called Zeplion. This is an injection that I would have once a month, but today I have it once every 3 weeks, but I was having it once a month, and she tried it on me and it worked. And that was my miracle. And after all those years of suffering, 17 years of suffering in and out of psychiatric hospitals, I mean, I've been to psychiatric hospitals, I've been to Entabeni, the annex. I stayed there a few times. I remember walking on the manicured lawn, thinking that I was walking on water because I was the second coming. I remember going to Newcastle, this retreat. It was quite a weird setup. Yeah, I don't know much to say about that. I've been in and out of St. Anne's Hospital in Pietermaritzburg, as well as Town Hill Hospital outpatients, as well as Peacehaven at Town Hospital, where I spent 10 days there. I've been to Oaklands and Howick twice. It's a psychiatric hospital in Howick. And yeah, so I've been all over, and my injection is really, the Zeplion injection has really been amazing. But I just want to say that the biggest thing has really been my faith in God. I've never wavered with him. I've always believed that he would come through for me, and he has. my parents, my dad, my mom, my brother, my twin sister, and Bridge. They too have been through turmoil. They have sacrificed their time, their efforts, their everything for me, always knowing that one day that Cally will be back to them, and I am. And yeah, and I just want to say right now, my dream is to educate people with the stigma that mental illness creates. That I'm living proof that there's better days beyond the stigma that surrounds mental health. That there is hope. I know this is a cliche, but there's hope behind every silver. Every cloud has a silver lining, and I really believe that. And I just want to say that before you see a person who has a mental health issue, see them first and not the illness. I'm not bipolar. I am Cally. I always will be Cally. I'm not bipolar, but I have bipolar. So that's really important. You're not the illness, but you have the illness. That takes, for me, I've always looked back, and I've kind of been I've kind of been fortunate to never actually box myself in a category of Cally bipolar. I've always seen myself as Cally, and I think that's due to the fact that for the way I've been loved and cared for by my family and friends, and the way I've seen society treat me. I mean, that's just my whole perspective, how I've looked at things. And I just want to say now that I really am. I've got better days. I've got the most amazing man in my life, Gregory Gavin Smith, and we're to be married next year. He's been my rock. He's just amazing. He understands me. Greg comes with me to have my injections, and he sits outside the door and comes with me to get my medication. And not just that, he's just amazing, and I really do love him. And yeah, I can't wait for our future together, Greg. And yeah, and I've written a book, The Mirror Has Two Faces, in hope to reach out to people who have been suffering like I was, and to say there's always hope, there's always hope. And yes, and I just want to say thank you to God for, yeah, just for standing there through me as well. I want to thank you to Sharon Castle for being amazing and to being such an amazing mentor to me these past couple of weeks of getting to know you as well. Yeah, you really have been amazing. Thank you so much. And I want to thank, obviously, I just want to thank my parents, my mom, my dad, Darren, Lilla, Bridge, Kath, Miles, and all my extended family, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles. You guys are amazing. And yeah, thank you for listening to me this evening.
Sure, Cally. Wow. I mean, you've condensed 16 years of what you went through and longer, into kind of like 20 minutes plus. And I know that there's so much more. And I have one of those books here, and it's really worthwhile getting it. And the things that I've highlighted, you can see how I've highlighted a couple of things, is the unconditional love that you express there for your family and what they gave to you. And that's the premise from which I believe we need to operate in this world, particularly now with how things are broken and not working and not functioning. We need to have unconditional love. It's the only thing that cuts through all of the nonsense, isn't it, Cally?
Yes.
Your dad spoke in the book, your mom, your siblings, and all they spoke about was how you are still so amazing. They truly saw the Cally. They saw you through the facade. You know, I always say, you know, we're these spiritual beings just in this little sack of skin. There's so much more to us than what we see on the outside. And you've really, really shown that, Cally. You've got enthusiasm and you're so spirited. You're so full of fire. There's so much that you want to achieve. And I really hope and pray that you get everything that you want in terms of spreading your message, that you become the motivational speaker and the public speaker that you want to be, because you have got such an amazing story to tell. And, you know, the one thing that really stood out for me, and I know it sounds so funny, and I understand when you're in the situation that it's really not, because there's all these other people, you are going through this manic stage and everyone else is trying to manage you. But I really found it so interesting the way you described your trip when you went for your skiing holiday, and you know how you had that unbelievable feeling like you were immortal. You know, could you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's quite an important thing to understand for people who don't really fully come to grips with what bipolar disorder is.
Yeah, well, we went to Austria in end of 99, 2000. And at that stage, I was on a manic high, meaning that when one is on a manic high, there are different features that can manifest. But for me, it was one of euphoria and one of invincible, one thinking that I was all powerful and godlike, and one with really fast thinking thoughts, like racing thoughts. And I just remember that holiday of me basically just skiing down those Austrian slopes like thunderbolt. And I am surprised that I didn't actually crash into quite a few people on the way. But I just remember the one time on the slope, there was a restaurant and its door was open. And this was in the middle of the day. And I skied right into the restaurant while everyone was having their lunch. And I just waved at everyone. And I just said, hi. It was kind of embarrassing at the time, but I didn't really care to think elsewhere. But to go back to the manic side of it, a lot of people when they're manic, they like to spend a lot of money. But for me, obviously, as a teenager, I didn't have any money to spend. So I would give away a lot of possessions. Like I remember at home, I'd just give away my new pair of tackies or whatever to a friend. You know, I wouldn't actually think twice about it. But that manic feeling is actually one of just really thinking that you can do anything. For me, when I was manic, I actually was hearing voices as well as believing in those voices. Like the voice would tell me that I'm God, and I would believe that voice. And it's quite hard to describe, but a lot of people who have bipolar disorder, when they're out of their euphoric feelings, they say, oh, I really miss that feeling. I wish I could go back because I felt so good. Some people ask me, Cally, do you miss your bipolar highs? And I say, yeah, sometimes, but you know, it's one thing that is manic and wonderful, but it's also very, very dangerous at the same time.
And destructive, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah. It can really, one of the major things with bipolar is that it can destroy so many relationships. And because a lot of people don't understand, you know, why a person is acting that way, and then when you're out of that episode, try mending that relationship can be really, really difficult.
So I'm guessing that without a lot of understanding, you know, like your family has really understood, it must be quite difficult to get through that. I mean, did you encounter other people on your journey who didn't have the kind of unconditional love and support and understanding that you got? And I'm sure that was a struggle.
Most definitely, yeah. People you know, with the stigma that mental illness has, people, it's taboo. People don't really want to associate with you all the time. I mean, not everyone, but yeah, I've had a few people that, you know, look at you a bit squarely, or rather not associate with, you know, that bipolar disorder is a bit too much for me. Which is fine, because I just believe that you mustn't take things personally, that's their issue. So if they want to deal with it, that's their thing. So it's not about you, about me, it's about them.
And
So
wow,
yeah.
that's amazing. I mean, if everyone could have that kind of attitude, you know, that's their thing. It's not about me. It's an opinion. I always say opinions are like noses. You know, everyone has one. It really doesn't matter what the opinion is. It really matters what your opinion is of you.
Yeah.
Um, you know, what really came shining through in your book as well, and I highlighted it so many times. I mean, there's a section here. And I think you said about your father, it was an instant acceptance of the situation, knowing that other than giving unconditional love and support, there was nothing much else that he could do. My mom possesses the most amazing compassion and love, so I was guaranteed the best of care. There is no substitute for love and support. And I highlighted it so many times in your book because you speak of it so often, your family speak of it so often. And we come from a throwaway society, you know, like it's not working, let's just get rid of it and get a new one. Or that person is dysfunctional, so let's move on. And I really love the way that has been expressed in your book by you and your family, because really at the end of the day, what else is there? We really have to try and love people through situations. We can't just be you know, at the other end of the scale that says, well, I can't deal with this. I'm going to move on, or I'm going to, whatever that attitude is that they have. And obviously that was your family, but you've expressed how unbelievably you feel supported by Greg, you know, and I think that's just so beautiful that, you know, there's this lovely person that really understands you and supports you and gets you at the end of the day.
Yes.
And you probably get him. And
Yes.
I love that, because there's always somebody for everybody. And that's
Yes.
so beautiful. What a lovely love story, you know.
Yeah.
Cally, I'm sure people have got some questions. I've got dozens of questions, you know, being in the kind of work that I've been in for the last 38 years. So I'm going to open it up to everybody, and I'll, you know, wait my turn, because otherwise we could go on forever and ever. So please, if anybody has got a question, you know, you can just raise your little digital hand. If you go to the participants button, you can press that, or just really unmute yourself and start talking, because there's so many people online, you know, so there's 15 at the moment. So if you want to say something, please just unmute yourself, or, you know, raise your hand, and I'm going to look at the screen and ask some questions. You know, you may have been in somebody's life that's struggled with bipolar disorder. Or you might have some questions that you really want to know because you're not sure yourself. So is there anyone that wants to say anything or ask a question? Anyone there? A comment? So while maybe some people are waiting to say something, and if you don't want to talk, you're welcome to put it in the chat box, and then I'll relay it to Cally and we can answer it there. Cally, you said something that really, really struck me. And it was a powerful thing that you said. You said, I am Cally. I'm not bipolar. I have bipolar. Now, who taught you that incredible attitude? You know, where did that come from?
Came from my twin sister, Lila. Every single time that I would say I'm bipolar, Lila would say, no, Cally, you have bipolar. And that really struck with me. Lila always does it. It always helps me, yeah.
Yeah, so not putting people in boxes and not giving people labels. I love that.
Yes.
I wish everyone could take a leaf out of that book, because if we stopped labeling people and saying, this is an angry person, you know, that's a depressed person, that's a sad person, we might have a much healthier community, you know, so that we see beyond what we are feeling on the exterior, and we look to who the person is, to look at the soul. And I've always said that, let's look at souls. Let's not look at the person per se with a personality, because that's not really who they are. There's something deeper than that. There's something more than that. Yeah. Cally, maybe you can elaborate a little bit about this medication, because it's quite fascinating that there were so many medications that they experimented with, but this particular one worked. Is there a reason? Do you know what that reason is? Scientific or medical reason, anything like that?
I actually don't know the whole reason behind it. Just the fact that I think it was actually meant for patients who had schizophrenia. And because I was treatment resistant, my psychiatrist, Dr. Maria de Breva, she decided that she would try it on me. And it was my miracle, and it worked. So, but it's not to say that it's going to work for everyone. Bipolar medication is very individual. It's very individual. It doesn't fit everyone. So I was, like I say, really, really, it was my miracle drug, Zeplion. Yeah.
Okay. And I know it's really irrelevant at this stage, because you are healed and, you're on your meds and you're really doing so well. And you mentioned right early on in your story, that perhaps the antibiotic that you were given triggered something. Has there been more scientific proof of any of that? Do you have any research?
No, there hasn't.
Okay, so
we haven't got.
Still unknown.
It's still unknown. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Just for now, I just want to really make a point of this, is that for people who are feeling better after they've had episodes and they've been better for a long period of time, it's not to say, okay, now I must stop taking my medication. Now let's throw the medication down the sink. Okay. Because right now what I'm doing is managing my illness. I take my medication every day. I have oral medication as well as my Zeplion. I have it in the morning and I have it in the evening, as well as I have my Zeplion injection once every 3 weeks. You have to be so responsible with taking your medication. Even if you're feeling 110%, you still take your medication.
Okay, great. Well, I guess, it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing in your life. If it's that medication, it's like brushing your teeth. If you want to keep your teeth good, you better brush them. It's, you get into a habit. Yeah. So it's kind of like a maintenance thing. We've got a couple of questions here. Deveshni says, Nikki says, love your openness and authenticity. Thank you so much for letting us into your story, Cally. Thanks, Nikki. Deveshni says, Cally, what made you brave enough to tell your story and go on this important mission to destigmatize mental health? I imagine it took a lot of courage and self-awareness. You're so incredible. So do you want to answer that one?
That's the question.
So the question is, what made you brave enough to tell your story and go on this important mission to destigmatize mental health? Lovely question.
Yeah, I think it's just always because I want to help people. I want to help people with mental illness. I feel that I have a story to tell. I feel that if I can just help one person, it'll be enough. I mean, I've decided to write a book, and with that book, I'm hoping to reach so many people who have and families who have suffered with bipolar disorder, not just bipolar disorder, but with all types of mental illness, depression, schizophrenia, anxiety disorder. There's such a large scope of mental illness that we are living in our stressful lives today. And obviously with COVID-19 is even more of a cause, right. Stress, yeah. So I really feel there is a huge need for a person like me who's been through it, a voice to reach out. And I feel that if I don't reach out, it'll be a bit pointless of what I went through.
Do you feel like that's become your purpose? Like that's your real purpose?
Yeah, yes, that's beautiful. That's my purpose, yeah.
Yeah. And Denny says, Cally, you say the disorder started after taking antibiotics. I'm shocked at the side effects of medication. It can happen to anyone at any time. she says, and then she says, love and light to you. So would you say that that's what you've experienced, on this journey, seeing other people go through it?
Yes, I would say when we said the antibiotic was one of the things that started it. Bipolar there's not actually one single cause of bipolar disorder. It can be a whole few
Range.
factors, range, hereditary, genetic, stress levels, your whole makeup, everything, the environment that you're in. We believe as a family, and we believe that the antibiotic had a effect, had part of the effect. Probably my makeup as well had that effect as well on triggering this bipolar disorder. Yeah.
So that's quite interesting, because you were really doing quite well at school. You were an academic, you were good at sports. So, for all intents and purposes, it sounds like you were really functional and balanced.
Yes.
So there was no sign of anything up until the point that you had those antibiotics and you were 13 years old, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay, wow. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what has happened subsequent to this with your dad and the clinic. I mean, what an incredible thing that's happened.
Yes, yeah. I was meaning to mention that. We come from we come from Pietermaritzburg, and about 6 years ago, it was a 5-bedroom, all ensuite house. Yes, house. And my dad decided to get a hospital license for it, which we got. This was about 10 years ago, and then we moved out of it 6 years ago. And it's going to be called St. Catherine's Private Psychiatric Hospital, named after myself. 36-bed psychiatric and drug rehabilitative hospital.
Wow.
It's going to be opening in Pietermaritzburg in July, August 2021. So,
what a miracle. What an unbelievable miracle. I mean, like you say, every cloud has a silver lining. And, if that's the silver lining, and you and your family, and particularly your dad, gets to help so many people, I mean, that is incredible.
Yes,
I wish them so much success with that. It's so needed. There are not enough of those places, because I know that there were other people involved in getting that up and running. Some other outside.
Yes, my dad is in partnership with the Life Path Group in Cape Town. They have 7 or 8 of these psychiatric hospitals in the Western Cape, and they're opening. Well, they're in partnership with St. Catherine's. It's going to be opening in July next year.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yes, it is amazing. So
wow. And I'm sure you're going to be an integral part of that. I'm sure.
Yes, I'd like to. Yes, yeah. It's been a dream, this hospital. It really has been. Just the progress. It's taken actually about a decade for it to actually happen. So it's really been a wonderful, exciting journey, and going to bring a lot of good to a lot of people.
Totally. I mean, timing is really not important. That it's actually going to be functional is the most important thing, for sure.
Yeah.
So Cally, you've got this book, and I know that you've got a couple that you've just had printed again. How do people get hold of you if they want to read this book? Honestly, people, get this book. It's not a very big book, and it's so worthwhile to read. The stories that are in here, the advice that Cally gives, the input from her family is just so incredible. And your poetry, who knew? You were such an incredible poet. Wow, I love reading those poems. So how do people get hold of you if they want to chat to you further, or they want to get your book?
You're always welcome to phone me on, my number is...
Well, you can, if you want to give it out. Everybody that's here, before you give your number out. It looks like, everyone. There's names everywhere. So if you want to maybe give out your email address. Do you have an email address?
I'll give you my email. It's all lowercase, Catherine Bassage 31@gmail.com.
And otherwise, you can just get hold of me, sharon@sharoncastle.co.za, and I'll always, forward the message to Cally so that you can get hold of her. Yeah.
She's frozen, my good.
Yeah. Cally, are you there? Hello? Oh, we seem to have frozen. Cally, is everyone else here? Not your head so I can see you. Is it me that's frozen? Cally?
I have a problem. Here we go. Sharon is back. I think it'll take a... My pleasure. She's probably just joining audio, and she will be back soon.
Here I am. Can you hear me?
Thank you. I can. Hi, Sharon.
Sorry. I think just the internet kicked me off. Yeah, and
Sharon.
it carried on recording. Anyway, yes, we were saying, you know, we can get hold of your book if anybody would like to do that. Are there anyone want to ask any more questions or make any comments or hop on here and just wish Cally well? This is your opportunity. It's such a incredible opportunity to actually say something to Cally if you've wanted to. Anybody? All good? Cally, do you want to finish off? Can you believe how quickly the time goes? Do you want to finish off with anything? Is there anything you'd love to say or a comment you want to make?
I just want to say thank you, Sharon, again for hosting.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure.
And thank you for all for coming out this evening and tuning in to the Zoom chat. It's been great being here with you. And just to say that, yeah, if anyone's in a dark place or know of anyone else that's in a dark place, just to say that tomorrow, just live one more day. Tomorrow could be a better day. So you never know. So just hang in there and never give up hope.
Wow, well, that's a beautiful message. I mean, just one more day and it could all be different the next day. I love that, Cally. You've been amazing, Cally, honestly. I know you've given a talk at a school before, and this might be a couple of times that you've been on Zoom, but honestly, you need to get out there. You need to share your story. So if there's any opportunity for Cally to speak in small groups or, you know, church groups or whatever, please call on her, because we need people like Cally in this world. Don't you agree? We definitely do. Somebody's saying, thank you both, from D. Cally, my beautiful twinnie. That's so lovely. Strongest soul I know. How lovely. Lila. Thank you, Lila. And Tamron says, thank you, Cally and Sharon. You're an inspiration. Well done. And never giving up on your dreams. Yeah, Cally, I think we're going to watch this space. I can see Cally Bassage somewhere along in lights, just spreading the word and helping people as you have been with your beautiful book. So thank you, Cally. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I wish you a great evening further. And, you know, if you want to catch Cally or get a hold of me, you know where we are. And we hope that it really goes well for you. Thank you, Cally. Well, thank you once again.
Thank
and
you,
to your
Sharon.
family.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah, let's all unmute and just have a big goodbye to Cally. You want to all unmute yourself and just say cheerio. We have to
Cheerio,
use
Cally.
Thank you, Cally. Well done, Co.
Thank you. Cheers, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Well done, Cally.
Thank you.
Done. That was magic. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Cally.
Thank you.
Bye, Cally.
Bye-bye, Laura.
Okay, awesome. Yay. Well done, Cally. Loved every moment. Sorry about the little technical glitch.
No, not at all.
Sometimes it wasn't too bad. Yeah, so it's still recording, and there might be a little break, but I think we got really what we were looking for. And I'll load it up on YouTube tomorrow, and I'll put it on my website, and I'll send the link to you if you want to share it with anybody. All right.
Okay.
Have a lovely evening.
Thank you. You too, Sharon. Okay.
Bye. Bye.